Hey people, I'm Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com and also healingsuicide.com. My main site is tdjacobs.com. That's where all the juice is. And then healingsuicide.com tells a story of how soul relates to its human lives and how to deal with some of the emotional things that may push us toward believing suicide is the only answer. And it's written for everybody, with a special emphasis on those who have survived somebody else's suicide to understand the bigger picture with soul, and also those who have attempted and failed, or those who have survived their own suicide attempts. But there are a lot of people who have not tried that or lost anybody to that, who have in different lives suicided. So anyway, it's for everybody. Anyway, but where do you find the classes and workshops and readings and program crystals and books and all the other stuff, all the channeled audio, all the everything, and the courses is on tdjacobs.com. So this video is the first in a series of videos regarding my higher self protocol classes. The class is about learning to open to and work with spirit guides. And I'm in the second kind of generation of teaching it, meaning I taught it in a certain way for years called intuitive skills development. And in certain ways, as I'll explain, it just wasn't, it needed to be restructured. So I did a couple things and restructured and brought it out as higher self protocol. And right now I'm teaching the 9th higher self protocol 1, but I probably taught 10 or 12 of the intuitive skills development courses, starting probably in 2012 or 2011 or something. But anyway, what I want to what's going to be changing here with this is that I'm going to give the introductory material from higher self protocol 1, what typically takes up most of the first of the 9 classes. And I'm going to make several shorter videos on YouTube. All that material, the intro material, will be available for free. And I'm going to be teaching it more and opening up to a sign-up list where you can receive basically first notice of when the next class dates are. But by giving not giving away for free, but I mean by providing the intro material, it'll help you understand how this will benefit you and why this path with me and Ascended Master Jehudi, or Hermes, Thoth, Saint Germain, Merlin, why this, and Metatron, actually, to Archangel Metatron, why this path is so empowering and important, and why I'm pouring so much of my time and energy into it. So then it turned into, well, I kind of want to, and I made a list of those, I made an outline for those, I think, 3 videos. And I said, but where does the class come from? That's actually part of what I talk about with the students on day 1. So that this video is where the class comes from, where it comes from. So we have to get back in my little time machine and go back to 2003. 2003, when I was happily minding my own business, doing office work in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I tell the story in Seeing Through Spiritual Eyes, one of the first books I published, the memoir of the 7-year process of going from being totally closed to spirit and then doing this work for money, for a living. And so this story is in there. But I visited LA for the 3rd time, a college friend. And when I got off the plane, I just knew I was moving there. And then I met her then fiance. They're married now. And all this weird psychic stuff was buzzing and it was crazy. And he was basically, when are you moving here? And I was like, I guess in a few months. So anyway, we're almost at 20 years since that happened, because I moved there in July of 2000. July of 2003. So almost 20 years since I made the trek from Massachusetts there. But everything opened up and changed when I got there. And I had this weird psychic connection with a friend, and by extension, the friend's fiance, and by extension with my friend. And all this stuff was going on. And we'd talk to each other and I'd feel buzzy, and it was all this kind of weird stuff. And then I just started having weird experiences once I moved there. And I would have like lost time, or I would have a second or less repeat, which is the opposite of losing time, when you have the same moment back to back, like deja vu, but super quick. And sometimes that would happen when I was driving in my little car on the highway in LA, and I was very scared. So I was talking to the two friends, the only people I knew in LA, by the way, at the time, right when I got there. And one of them had like a friend of a friend who was in San Francisco, and we were going there anyway to visit this group of friends because he grew up in that area. So when we were up there, I met all these people, and they're all these intuitives and body workers and energy workers and all this kind of people who are like in their bodies, and they're all kind of freaked out because I was so like stuffed full of trauma. And one of them said to me, your body is calling out for your attention. I was like, what are you talking about? I am fine. All this trauma never, gotten into. But anyway, then there was a friend of these people, so it was like a friend of a friend of a friend, who did intuitive readings. And there was a point, and so by this time it was late 2004, and I was seeking help. So I had a reading with this person, and it was the first time that I had watched somebody channel, and I felt the energy in the room change, and I was amazed. Meaning she did, so we went to her apartment in San Francisco, and we did a trade, and I read her astrology chart from the evolutionary angle, and then she did this reading for me. But she got grounded and opened different energy centers and brought in guides, and I felt the room change. And so I was a novice at all this stuff, and had the reading, and it was profound. And there are images and things that I'll never forget. It was quite impactful. And then several months later, that's what I was actually introduced to Metatron as well. And then I described to a mutual friend who was taking me back afterward, and I described the visual image of Metatron, and she froze, and she was like, that being's been talking to me about you. It was great. It was all this synchronicities and magic and all this stuff. So months later, I'm back in LA minding my own business. And I think, you know what, I'd like another reading with the channel. And so I contacted one of the dudes in San Francisco, the friend of a friend, and the friend of my friend's fiance. And he said, actually, she just moved to Santa Monica where you live. And I was like, what? So he gave me her website, and there was a class starting in, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. This meditation class to learn to work with spirit guides. And I said, yeah, well, I guess I won't have a reading. So I called her and signed up for the class. And so I took this class. It was actually 2 8-week classes that were back to back. And it was really great experience in a billion ways. And one of the things that was frustrating to me was that people kept dropping out. Some had scheduling conflicts between the first 8-week class and the second, and everybody knew that. Some of them did. We started, I think we were 12 people, and maybe say 3 had scheduling conflicts, maybe some 9, but we ended up with 2 people plus a teacher, 2 students, and I was one of them. And it was hard for me to watch people encounter their fears and guilt and shame and different things, which was part of the empowerment process of the class, but then not believe that they could work through it. Meaning the teacher held space when people would say, look, teacher, I'm freaking out. They didn't call her teacher, but they called her by her name. But look, I'm freaking out. I'm having a hard time. And she's okay, let's talk about it. But she was not coddling anybody, and she was not enabling anyone to deny things that were true. And some people felt confronted, and I perceive maybe not supported in a certain way, and might drop out because the class got too hard because it pushed their emotional buttons. I'm trying really hard to frame this as not in any way the fault of the teacher, because I would watch her with some of these people, and also when I would approach her, and she was completely aligned with spirit, with an open heart, but clear, more clear than I'd seen anybody about what was actually happening. And I could tell she was getting messages, but I also knew that it was for people's highest good to learn to grow through challenges. And it just appeared that these people, some of them, and I don't have any fault toward them at all either, just didn't know if they could handle it, didn't know if they were strong enough or they could face that fear or pain or abuse history or whatever it was. So at the end of 12 weeks, it was me and this other woman in this class. And I didn't want to go back. The first class, I was so excited because what are the odds that like I think about having a reading and no, she just moved to 2 miles away from you, and her next class starts Tuesday or whatever it was. I was so eager to go. When I got there, we started doing meditation and talking about things, and I realized what the class was going to be, which was pushing your buttons 24/7, making you look at yourself. I didn't want to go back. So each of the following 15 weeks was like the hardest thing ever for me to actually go back. So at the end, I felt proud that I had made it. You know what I mean? I'd finished successfully and I could read people's guides and stuff. It was great. But I was kind of like, in the intervening years, I'd had people ask me, like subsequent years, can you teach us how to work with spirit guides, since you do that all the time? You'd read my guides. And I was like, man, I don't know how to do it without having a bunch of people drop out. And that just seems like so terrible to me. Again, not judging the teacher or the people, but just like, man, if I could figure out how to, if I could figure out how to, I don't know, enable more success for students and have a much lower dropout rate, and I could actually get through to people in a way that was different. Anyway, again, no criticism toward my teacher. Anyway, I was like, maybe I can. And then so then I'm teaching the intuitive skills development, which was roughly modeled on that class a little bit, or maybe a ton, but I did change some things. But then in doing the intuitive skills class, it was never enough time on the root chakra, the foundation, the first energy center, the lowest one located around the anus, and dealing with family and community and family of origin and feeling safe in the body and in the world. You know, it was never enough time. So then I would, as I kept offering those dozen or so times, I was like, well, I need to become a better teacher, obviously, because, you know, and so I would make it like, okay, well, we'll do 2 weeks on the root chakra and then one on every other chakra and kind of go up in the list of chakras. That wasn't enough. And so I was like, man, well, what if we added another week at the end and it's like an 11-week class, and we revisit the root, and it was never enough. So I was talking to Jehudi about it. And basically that's where the chakra course comes from, which is now a prerequisite for Higher Self Protocol 1. And it's in 2 sections. It's in the lower chakras and the upper chakras, like the lower 3 and then the upper 4. And the lower 3 is super important. And that's why it's required for the other, for the course, because I want you to spend weeks and months working through lower chakra issues to get accustomed to being in your body and seeing yourself in a different way and moving energy from your head down to the lower 3 chakras so you can be more rooted and grounded to the earth. So I did that and then launched Higher Self Protocol. The chakra course came in 2016. Higher Self Protocol, I can't remember when the first one was, but it was within a year or 2 or something after that. Maybe a couple, 2-3 years. Anyway, so that turned out to be a wonderful thing. But sometime in there, I had not known how to teach people how to talk to guides. I was just like in the process of figuring out how can I get people to do more root chakra work. But in there, in that time frame, I got to a very negative place in myself. And I was very pessimistic. It's just a part of my personality that, you know, I don't fight, but I have struggled with trying not to let it take over sometimes. And I have at times. And one of my eventual graduates of the program, who's very intuitive and tuned in already, she could sense I was being really negative, and she sent me she sent me the image of an oracle deck card. And it was not a tarot deck, but an oracle deck of some kind. And it said, remove the word victim from your vocabulary. And I became enraged. And because I felt like I was being criticized for being negative, criticized by my guides, and they were tricking her. And I was like, whoa, this is out of control. And I was like, how, like my attitude and my negativity and my defensiveness toward my guides and God, and thinking the universe is a terrorist and my guides are like this evil clown posse bent on destroying me. I know the paranoia is part of my makeup as well, you know, feeling abandoned or abused by the universe or whatever. So I was like, I stopped in my tracks with my negative reaction to this well-meaning email, right? And I didn't say anything to her about it. Maybe I did later, but I basically said to myself, okay, how the heck can I get back on track? Because this is not good. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the Tiger Iron. Okay, great. Program Tiger Iron, which, well, it's a banded 3 stones from Western Australia. And it's got hematite for the root and red jasper, which often looks brownish in a lot of Tiger Iron, and also gold tiger eye for the 3rd chakra. And it's a banded combination anyway. And I have been using them and selling them to people, programs to pull energy down for anxiety issues and strength and stamina and self-confidence and all lower chakra issues and root chakra family stuff, all kinds. And I said, okay, great, I can do that. Okay, great. So I got regrounded. And then I pulled in Auralite 23, which is mostly amethyst, but it's got at least 17 up to 23 metals in it also. And so it really changes things. And that's this stuff that looks quite a lot like amethyst, this purplish stuff. And so I was like, okay, great. Yeah, because that helps me not believe the negative voices, where I might hear part of me being pessimistic, but I don't feel it. It enables a sense of detachment. I was like, okay, great. And then and then I was like, how do I come back to feeling aligned with truth and not this paranoia? And so I used Larimar for the 5th chakra, Larimar, this blue pectolite. And then I was like, oh my God, I know how to have people connect with their spirit. Because when you get grounded and you stop believing the negative voices and you open up your 5th chakra, there are your guides again. And then adding Mukaite for the 6th chakra. So anyway, so I figured it out and I was like, oh, that's the ingredient my teacher didn't have, which is programmed crystals that can help create guardrails for the students. So how can I not guarantee, but have a better chance at helping people get through the whole process of the course? The program crystals. So then suddenly I was like, the higher self protocol. Because Jehudi was talking to me about how it's a protocol step by step, and here's how to do it. Getting to your higher self, but recognizing that you get ungrounded and you have to deal with your emotional stuff. You can't wish to be positive and just hope the negativity goes away. You have to process through things. Ground emotions with Tiger Iron, learn to not believe stuff, learn to not indulge in that negativity with your Auralite 23, learn to align with a higher truth with Larimar, and then open the 6 and you receive information from guidance. The 6th chakra with the Mukaite. So I started offering the classes. And because I required the Tiger Iron and first part of the chakra course before class, people spent weeks and months on their lower chakra stuff before we even met for the first time. It's extremely important, extremely valuable. So if you're going to watch this series of videos, this being close to the end of the first one, maybe 3 or 4 more videos. If you are intrigued, get the first part, or part 1 of the chakra course, and 2 or 4 medium Tiger Iron pieces or bead strand or whatever, depending on what's available at tdjacobs.com, and practice the grounding and get used to that, because that's where we begin. That's the foundation. That's step 1 of the protocol. When we begin the class, as I'll explain in a later video, we move on and add more layers with those crystals I imagined, and exercises and different processes. But the protocol begins with a lot of emphasis on grounding processes with the Tiger Iron, the grounding, and the lower 3 chakras. So now, gosh, 9 rounds of 6, 7, or 8 people each. I don't, it's not always consistent. Mostly like 7 people each. Say it's around 60 people, right? And who've gone through the process. I think A couple people just kind of turned away from it. Another person encountered a bunch of a huge block with some trauma stuff during the process, but otherwise everyone else has been able to work through and get through. So I'm really pleased that you know it's up and running, and there's like this whole little I don't know, it's like a machine that I've started to run here, like a cottage industry, a little machine, a little factory, turning out heart-centered people who are kind to themselves and each other and are more responsible and grounded and clear and mature and able to heal and talk to their guides and channel guides for each other and for other people. I feel really that's I sincerely believe this is a really important contribution for me to cultivate, right, and other people during this life. So I'm really happy to be doing it. And it's really one of the most favorite things that I do. And I will give you this little note. Higher Self Protocol 1 is where we learn the protocol, learn to deal with emotions, learn to clear out garbage and junk, and learn to transform in the face of our fears and our disempowering beliefs, and etc., being safer in the body, etc. And it's typically 9 weeks. Higher Self Protocol 2, for everybody who finishes number 1 successfully. Higher Self Protocol 2 is readings practice with each other, learning a lot more about energetic boundaries, energetic health, and emotional solvency. And we continue self-inquiry exercises to become stronger and grow and heal and shed the disempowering past. We do a lot of practice readings with each other. And people who successfully finish that, most opt to take the mediumship class. Not all have to. Some people have taken it as a curiosity. And I just started the 3rd mediumship class out of all those groups. And because I wasn't sure how to teach that either. And then Jehudi showed me how to teach it. So I made a bunch of notes and now I'm doing it. So anyway, if you have it in your head, you want to study mediumship with me, which I haven't put out a lot of videos on mediumship, but you should stay tuned for that for the rest of the calendar year. And anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you and helping you understand how to be in your body in a better and healthier way and relate to spirit. And stay tuned for future videos in the series on who spirit guides are and who they are not, what they do and what they don't do, how we can think of them and draw on their help and how to do that kind of stuff. And also the protocol in a little more detail on how the course actually works. I will explain that in one of the upcoming videos. And then we'll talk about energetic boundaries and energetic management, energetic health stuff too, which is part of the intro material. So thanks for your time and energy. And I'm on the web again at tdjacobs.com. And take care of yourself. Looking forward to teaching you to demystify the world of spirit and step into some really cool ways of living.